Good afternoon, everybody. Today's no. Good afternoon, everybody. Today's lecture is on developmental dysplasia of the hip. Previously, it is called congenital dislocation of the hip. Now the term is changed to developmental dysplasia of hip. Why? Because it is not a simple dislocation of hip in a newborn. It is associated with a lot of conditions like vestibular dysplasia in future and development of abnormal development of the femur head and associated conditions. So it is not a simple dislocation to tell. There is a wide spectrum of conditions like dislocatable hip to vestibular dysplasia, cross vestibular and femoral head dysplasia. So going into the details, in this lecture, we know the history, embryology, and etiology, clinical features, and how to diagnose and treatment of the DDH. So, subluxation means there is some contact between the articular surface. Means the articular surface of the other joint, two articular surface of the joint, there is some minimal contact between them. In dislocation, there is no contact between the articular surface. Here also abnormal relation between femoral head and vestibula. So, as I already told you, it is a wide spectrum of presentation, ranging from the mild dislocatable hip to fixed, totally irreducible dislocated hip. So, definition is partial loss. Subluxation is partial loss of contact. Dislocation is full loss of contact. Dysplasia is increase in hip. In hip vestibular dysplasia means increased obliquity and decreased concavity. So the concavity is lost. So vestibulum becomes shallow and there is tendency to dislocate. So this is a congenital condition. But most hips are not dislocated at the time of birth. Means there is a instability is there at the birth. In some cases, the hip may dislocate when there is adduction movement. So it is a tendency to dislocation is the important thing here. And the developmental dysplasias like these may occur in embryonic time, or fetal and infantile periods. And a teratological dislocation of hip is antenatal hip dislocation. The hip is dislocated before birth. So, William Dupuytren is the one who coined the term CDH and described the feature of the CDH and abductor latch. I will tell you about abductor latch. Adolf Lorenz is professor of surgery, University of Vienna. He demonstrated his technique on close reduction of this dislocated hip, and he is the one who described avascular necrosis. And Votlani is the one who described Votlani test. I will tell you later about it. So incidence is 1 in 1,000 live births. So common is left hip is more common. Next bilateral is more common, and right hip is very less common. So left hip is commonly involved, followed by bilateral cases, followed by right hip. So incidence in beach presentation is 32%, around 32%. And coming to the etiology, there is a lot of theories stating that it may be due to hereditary causes or hormonal induced, which may result in ligamentous laxity, and prenatal positioning, that is breech position, and oligohydramnios means decreased amniotic fluid, where there is a minimal space to movement. So in breech position it is more common. And postnatal positioning, while wrapping or doing after delivery, sometimes whenever you adduct the hip, there is tendency to dislocation. And some Caucasians and Native Americans, it is more common. So risk factors are 4 Fs, 4 Fs of DDH. Remember this 4 Fs: female gender, first born child, and foot first. Means breech presentation can be complete breech or foot breech. Means incomplete breech. That is one foot is presenting, coming down. That is foot first or breech presentation, and family history of positive DDH. So 4 Fs: female, firstborn, female, and foot first, and family history. And other causes, other risk factors are oligohydramnios, neuromuscular disorders. Other related abnormalities are, so it is a congenital condition. So it is associated with other congenital conditions like CTV, congenital dislocation of knee, congenital torticollis, and metatarsus adductus of the foot. So during the development, cleft is formed at 7 to 8 weeks, which separate the head from the acetabulum, and 11 to 12 weeks of gestation, hip joint structures are fully formed. So normal hip at birth is, it is a femoral head is deeply seated within the acetabulum. It is called containment of head. Remember the term containment of the head. Containment means femoral head within the acetabulum is containment. So this is important for the development of both spherical shape of the head and acetabular shape. So head must be present within the acetabulum for proper growth of the head and acetabulum. If it is dislocated, the acetabulum is displaced and concentric shape of the head is also lost. So this head is held in the acetabulum by a suction force, like suction cup. So due to the synovial surface tension of the synovial fluid, the head is, other than the labrum and muscles and ligaments, these suction force of the synovial fluid will keep the head in acetabulum. So next one is acetabular cartilage complex. So that is triradiate cartilage, which is a 3D structure, that is triradiate medially and cup-shaped laterally. This is triradiate. So acetabulum is a cup-shaped structure. So this is the triradiate cartilage. It is interposed between the ilium, ischium, and pubis. So this is the acetabulum, this is the triradiate cartilage, this is the head, and this is the labrums. For any joint, labrum is present in the shoulder and hip. Any ball and socket joint, the labrum is present. This labrum will produce additional concavity and prevents the dislocations. So there is structures that impede the reduction. So the hip have tendency to dislocate, or it may already dislocated. But some structures intervene the reduction process. So which may be contracted inferior medial capsule. So in a long-standard cases, the inferior medial capsule is contracted, and the muscles also contracted. That is iliopsoas muscle and adductor muscles. So because of these contractures, the reduction is very difficult. And another one are ligamentum teres and this limbus, inverted limbus and pulmonar. These are the, and a labrum, torn labrum, which is fall in between the head and the acetabulum. Because of this mechanical obstruction, reduction may be sometimes difficult. And the factors contributing to persistent instability of hip is redundant superior capsule, acetabular dysplasia, and coxa valga and femoral anteversion. So even if there is any dislocation, if we reduce and treated, again the dislocation is recurrence of the dislocation, these factors may be responsible. That is redundant supercapsule and acetabular dysplasia. I will tell you later in the X-ray what is the acetabular index. So here, then you can understand. And this is, and another one is coxa valga. Coxa valga means increased neck shaft angle. If you draw a line along the femoral shaft and along the center of the neck, it forms a certain angle, that is neck shaft angle. It is around 125 to 135 degrees. If it is more than that, it is coxa valga. Look at this. This angle is more, so it have a tendency to dislocate. And femoral anteversion. Normally, femoral is retroverted. Retroverted means it is it forms certain angle posteriorly with the in coronal plane. So head is directed backwards. That is retroverted. If it is anteverted, there is tendency to dislocation. And clinical features are, before going to examine, child is relaxed and the examination surface should be warm and comfortable, and room is quiet, and so clinical features are first affected is the abduction moment. Abduction, limited abduction is first affected. If the child, if you try to abduct the hip in a normal side, it will touch the couch. In our DDH cases, it won't move. So limitation of abduction is the main first clinical sign. Next, Gilliard sign. If the hip is dislocated, automatically the length of the thigh portion is reduced. So if you the child is in supine position, place the child in supine position, flex the hip and knee, keep the foot on the couch. So look at the level of the both knees. In the affected side, it is in the lower side than the normal side. This is Gilliard's sign. Gilliard's sign. And in untreated cases, there may be Trendelenburg gait. Trendelenburg gait means swaying to one side like this, and swaying to one side. And waddling gait means it occurs in bilateral cases. Bilateral, if it is a bilateral cases, child will waddles like this, both swing to both sides. That is waddling like a duck. Okay, and another features are signs of excessive lordosis, which is secondary to hip flexion contraction, and excessive internal or external rotation. And other findings are proximal migration of GT, asymmetry of the thigh folds, and positioning of the hip. And Klissick test is for bilateral dislocation. It is similar to Schumacher line. If you draw a line along the tip of the GT to enter superior spine, normally it touches the atara both the umbilicus. If there is any dislocation, the line goes below the umbilicus. And diagnosis. What Barlow's and Waterland's tests are important one. Barlow's test is you try to you elicit the tendency to dislocate in an abnormal hip. If a child have a asymmetrical thigh folds and abduction is limited, you keep the thumb on the inner side of the thigh, and the fingers on the outer lateral aspect of the thigh, and try a gentle push on the inner side. If the hip have tendency to dislocate, it will dislocate with a clamp. And again you will relocate with the pressure of the fingers on the GT. So this complete test is Ortlanis maneuver. This is Ortlanis maneuver. You try to relocate with fingers. The first part is a Barlow's test. First diagnosis is purely diagnosis is based on clinical presentation and investigations like radiological investigations like ultrasound, X-ray, angiogram, and MRI. So coming to that, Trendelenburg gate or sign. So this is based on abductor mechanisms of normal abductor mechanism of hip. Okay. If it is failed, the look it to the normal side of the hip. If you lift the patient in the standing position, if you lift the one side of the leg, the opposite side abductors will act and maintain the pelvis in the same level. Okay. If these abductors are insufficient or lever any problem in the hip joint, these abductors cannot act and this pelvis will drops. So because of the weak abductors or because of the joint, abnormal joint, these abductor lever mechanism is lost and the level of the pelvis is not maintained when one side of the limb is lifted. So this is Trendelenburg sign. And a telescopic test is if the head is not in the acetabulum, if you move like this, it goes and comes. That is telescopic test. So coming to the investigations, ultrasound. Ultrasound is the first investigation which is done in the newborn cases, in suspected DDH cases. Why? Because in newborn cases, the hip is primarily composed of cartilage. So more amount of cartilage is there. In a radiograph, only those ossified bone we can see. So ultrasound is more helpful. And coming to the radiological, there is a lot of lines and angles in the evaluation of DDH. One is Hilgen-Brunner's line, Perkins line, Stabler index, Shelton's line, Van Rosen line, and CE angle of Weber, Stabler T-drop figure, and Stabler index of depth to width and femoral head extrusion index. All these are seen in the radiograph. I will tell you some important ones. So this is the radiograph of a pelvis with both hips. So how to know dislocation is based on some imaginary lines we will draw. So this is the triradiate cartilage. Draw a line along the horizontal line along the both triradiate cartilage. This is called Hilgen-Brunner's line. H for horizontal. Remember, H for horizontal. Hilgen-Brunner's line. H for horizontal. This is one line. Another line is draw a line on the vertical line 90 degrees to the Hilgen-Brunner's line, and it touches the outer surface of the articular cartilage on both sides. This is Perkins line. So vertical line is Perkins and the horizontal line is Hilgen-Brunner's line. In a normal hip, the head is always inner and lower quadrant. So head is always in the inner and lower quadrant. In dislocated hip, the head is around upper and outer quadrant. This may not elicit in a newborn. Why? Because head is not fully ossified. It is a cartilage one. You can't see the position of the head. And so normal side, head is in the inner and lower quadrant. Dislocated hip, head is in the upper and outer quadrant. And this is the Stabler index. Stabler index. Draw a line along the upper articular surface of the Stabler. It forms at an angle with the Hilgenbrunn's line. This is its Stabler index. The more the index, it is more concentric. So the more the Stabler index, it indicates Stabler shallowness. So Stabler is shallow and dysplastic, and there is tendency to dislocate. Another one is Shelton's line. Shelton's line is draw a line along the inferior surface of the neck, head, and inferior surface of superior pubic rami. So this form an arch. This is called Shelton's line. This Shelton's line is broken. Okay. So this is Hilgenbrunn's line. This is Stabler index, and this is Stabler index, and this is Perkins line, vertical line. This is Perkins line. Another line is Van Rosen line. If you draw a line along the shaft of femur in abducted position, it will go through the acetabulum. If it is out of the acetabulum, it is dislocation. And teardrop figure. Teardrop figure is, this is the teardrop, acetabulum tree. This is the acetabulum. This is the adult X-ray. For reference, I am seeing. The lateral wall is formed by the acetabulum, medial wall is the lesser pelvis, and curve is acetabulum notch. It appears between 6 to 24 months of age. Appearance is 6 to 24 months of age. If appears within six months after reduction, it is a good prognosis. So it is a prognostic indicator. So Stabler index of depth to width is greater than 38% in DDH, and femoral head extrusion index. These are all important in the postgraduate level, not in undergraduate level. And another feature is in neglected cases. Most of the cases, sometimes the poor people, they won't come to OPDs or treatment. So in those cases, the false acetabulum is formed in the outer cell, in the superior aspect of the acetabulum. Look at, this is the original acetabulum, which is dysplastic, and another false or pseudo acetabulum is formed due to weight bearing of the child. Coming to orthography, this is described by Severin. In orthography, it is indicated to know whether labrum is torn or not. Okay, so you inject a dye into the hip joint and a radiograph is taken. So races of the joint capsule, it is ring-like orbicularis. So this is the normal hip. The dye is concentrated around the head. In DDH, the head is dislocated. So the dye is over the superior and it is more at the inferior. So it is like a hourglass like that. And you can, main indication for orthography is to know whether labral tear or not. So MRI is nowadays a recent better investigation in all age group, but difficulty is in child. You need to sedate the child to do MRI, and it is more expensive. Coming to the treatment, the main goal of the treatment is obtain a concentric reduction. Concentric reduction means even after reduction, you need to check the stability of the hip. Not only just reduction means you need to address the established dysplasias, lateral pathology, everything diagnosed before the doing reduction. So the aim of treatment is obtain a concentric reduction, maintain a stable hip, and stimulate normal growth and development of the hip, and prevent other associated complications. Okay. So containment of the head is the main motto of the treatment. So treatment day is based on the age of the patient. So birth to 6 months, 6 months to 18 months, 18 to 16, 36 months, 3 to 8 years. So different age groups depend on the age groups, and unilateral or bilateral treatment is decided. First, birth to 6 months. Pavlik harness is the first choice of treatment in a child. So all these bases, aim of these bases is to maintain the hip in abducted position, flexion and abduction. So hip is after reduction, hip is stable in flexion and abduction position. So these DDHs are very less rare in Indian population. Why? Because our mothers carries in the lap, carries the child in the lap, and the child thighs wind around the mother's abdomen. So there is automatically abduction, and the chance of DDH is very low. Chance of DDH is very low. So maintain the whole hip in flexion and abduction is the main uh, main role. And for these different braces and harnesses, the Pavlik one, first one is the Pavlik harness. Look at it, has a straps, two shoulder straps, and stirrups. And this hip is maintained over 90 to 110 degrees flexion, and in abduction, and adduction is prevented. So it is a dynamic flexion, abduction, arthrosis. So it is not a fixed one. So baby can move. So there can be some movements at the hip, but it prevents the abduction. If it is abducted, then chance of dislocation is more. So it prevents the abduction, but child can able to, it prevents adduction, but child can able to move abduction. It is used up to 4 to 6 months, but contraindication for use is soft tissue contraction and pathological dislocation, and not used in a chronic stage. In these cases, osteonecrosis can occur. So duration of the treatment is based on age and hip instability, and failure seen in irreducible hip. So if before doing that, hip must be reduced, and bilateral DDH also, it is there may be failure. Osteonecrosis is nothing but avascular necrosis, and reduction before appearance of osteotic nucleus of the femoral head resulting in osteonecrosis. The sequel of this osteonecrosis, head is deformed, acetabular is deformed, and subluxation, GTO overgrowth, limb length disturbance, and finally secondary osteoarthritis. So treat early within 1 to 3 years of diagnosis by innominate osteoarthritis. Limb length disturbances can be treated by epiphyseal disease, means ablating the epiphysis on other limb, opposite limb, so that it comes the growth, it can match these affected limb. So these are different types of splints and cast. This is Van Rosen splint. Look at the straps are placed on the thigh and arm. All these braces are aim is to maintain the abduction. This is frog leg and bachelor's cast. And this is Dennis Brown splint, Dennis Brown bar. This is Fredka pillow and splint. Coming to 6 to 18 months age group, preoperative traction can be done in these cases. In and adductor tenotomy. Tenotomy means the paratendon of the muscles are inside to relieve the contraction. So here adductor tenotomy is done. Adductor tenotomy can be done to prevent the adduction. So if we prevent the adductions, adductors comes into action, and the chances of redislocation is very less. And closed reduction with orthography with hip spica patch. In 6 to 18 months of cases, hip spica is the main treatment modality. If it is not reducible due to any mechanical obstruction by the soft tissues, labrum, or any contractures, hope reduction can be done. So traction, this can be skin or skeletal. So and better to not use below the 2 years of age groups. So this traction can sometimes reduce the osteonecrosis, incidence of osteonecrosis. Closed reduction and orthography. So under general anesthesia, done for unstable hip and non-congruent hip. So this is done under unstable and non-congruent hip. Medial dipole. So dye is injected into the hip and radiograph is taken. The dipole on the medial aspect is must be less than 5 mm. So it indicates the reduction is concentric. And safe zone, I will tell you about the safe zone later. So this is the orthography I already told you. Safe zone. So after a hip dislocate, after hip spica or any braces, the position of the maximum abduction is around 45 degrees. So this is the safe zone. It means minimum of 20 degrees abduction must be there. So if the abduction is very less, there is chance of dislocation. And hyperabduction is also not recommended. So this is preferably around 45 degrees of abduction during the conservative treatment is a safe zone. This is hip spica cast. The hip is maintained at 90 to 110 degrees flexion, 40 to 45 degrees abduction. And this is the optimal position for the reduction. This is maintained up to 4 months and changed once in every 2 months. So general anesthesia, under general anesthesia, the child is placed at the edge of pouch and both limbs cotton is applied and hip spica cast applied up to the level of abdomen, So, and the perineum is left to attend nature calls. And coming to the open reduction, it is pathology based, not age related. So in early child, in neonates also, infants also, if it is not reduced, the dislocation is not reduced manually, and any mechanical obstruction due to the soft tissues, open reduction can be done at an age. So it is open reduction is not age related. It's a pathology based choice. We can open the hip anteriorly, anteromedially, and medially. Medially, there is a risk to the injury to the medial circumflex vessels and high incidence of osteonecrosis. Preferably anterior and anteromedial are preferable. So 18 months to 36 months old child, in these cases, the head is already dislocated and superiorly migrated. You need to do any femoral osteotomy, whereas derotation osteotomy. Femoral shortening means decrease the femur length so that head can be brought down to the level of the hip. And pelvic osteotomies. 3 to 8 years of age, open reduction, primary femoral shortening. This is the femoral shortening. the head is at the above the level of the pelvis, and there is a muscular contraction in a 3 to 8 years of age that is too long, so that the muscles are shortened, and we may not able to bring the entire limb downwards. So we resect the some amount of bone, and this femur is this head and neck part is brought down, and we apply a screw, and we do any osteotomy, pelvic osteotomies to maintain the stapler index. And capsulorrhaphy. Capsulorrhaphy means overlapping of the capsule and stitching so that capsule is tightened. Pelvic osteotomies I will tell you later, and we can do both bony and soft tissue procedures depending on the pathology of the patient. So capsulorrhaphy means we inside the capsule and overlap and restitches. So there is tightening of the capsule, tightening of the capsule, which prevents the dislocation. In greater than 80 years, palliative salvaging operations is done, and the subtrochanteric valgus extension osteotomies. Although it is nowadays nobody is doing, it's rarely indicated, and total hip arthroplasty is the final procedure in a older age group, adolescent and adult age group. Coming to the pelvic osteotomies, there is a lot of osteotomies which increase the stapler depth, and another one is which increase the derotation of the stapler. After the derotation of the stapler. So the commonly done procedure of osteotomy of the innominate bone, that is Salter's osteotomy, Pemberton stapuloplasty, and osteotomies that free the sternum, that is steel triple innominate osteotomy or diastabular osteotomy, and shelf operation, Chiaris innominate osteotomy with medial displacement of the sternum. So lot of procedures are there. So here these are Salter double innominate osteotomy, triple innominate osteotomy, and peri-stabular osteotomy. All these are done in cases where concentric reduction is achieved and acetabulum is of adequate size. So here acetabulum is adequate size, but acetabular orientation is abnormal. In these cases, this Salter innominate osteotomy, double innominate and triple innominate and peri-acetabular osteotomy is there. So you done a supraacetabular osteotomy, put a bone growth, done a supraacetabular osteotomy, and here the fulcrum is pubic symphysis. You rotate the lower part of the pelvis, that is acetabular part and superior pubic lamina. Here the fulcrum is at pubic symphysis. Okay. And in peri-acetabular osteotomy, here the fulcrum is the acetabulum itself. Okay. So triple innominate osteotomy means the superior and inferior pubic lamina also osteotomized, and this only acetabulum part is rotated. So osteotomy is to reduce the volume of acetabulum. In these cases, the acetabulum is large, means shallow. So the shape of acetabulum is not round like this. So they have tendency to dislocate. So these osteotomies are oriented to decrease the acetabular index. Means these are Pemberton osteotomy, Degas osteotomy. So here the acetabulum is large and femoral head rides upwards and lateral because of the large acetabulum. So these superior articular surface need to bring downwards, in order to maintain the concept of reduction. For this, osteotomy is done, supraestabular osteotomy and bone graft is kept. There are different varieties, Pemberton and Daga. Pemberton, here the osteotomy is going towards the trirate cartilage. In Daga, the osteotomy is towards the pelvis. So the orientation depend on the orientation of osteotomy. It is Pemberton and Daga. And another cases are another osteotomies are Stahelis acetabular augmentation. Here the acetabulum is too small to cover the femoral head. In the previously, acetabulum is large, means the length of the total articular surface is okay, but the angle is very less. Here in these cases, the acetabulum is very small to cover the femoral head. In these cases, you need to put any bone graft superiorly based on the position of the graft. These can be Staheli, acetabular augmentation, tectoplasty, and Cherry. In Staheli, bone graft is kept at the roof of the acetabulum and allows to union. In tectoplasty, outer table of the acetabulum is raised and bone graft is placed under the acetabulum. So one cortex is lifted and graft is kept below that ilium. So this will raise the articular surface, overall articular surface of the acetabulum. And Cherry is you do a supraacetabular osteotomy and push the entire acetabulum medially so that the ilium can cover the superior aspect. So recommended osteotomies are Salter innominate osteotomy. This can be done between 18 months to 6 years. The indications are congruous hip reduction. Hip reduction must be congruous and angle of correction required is very less than 10 to 15 degrees. So if it is more than 10 to the correction required greater than 10 to 15 degrees, Pemberton acetabular is done. And steel and ganja osteotomy done in late adolescent to skeletal maturity cases. Indications are residual acetabular dysplasia and congruous joint must be present. So shelf or Cherry osteotomy is done in incongruous joint and it is done at the age of adolescent or skeletal maturity. So already told you about the Salter innominate osteotomy. Here to redirect the roof to cover the head anteriorly and superiorly. So hinge is at the pubic symphysis. It's important is before doing this, concentric reduction must be attained. So no soft tissue contracture or the bone abnormalities. So it's done in 18 months to 6 years. And associated capsulorrhaphy and iliopsoas stenotomy can be done. This can be done only when the acetabular index correction is less than 10 to 15 degrees. And the prerequisites are no muscle contraction, no soft tissue resection, and head at the level of acetabulum. If it is a neglected case, Salter osteotomy can't be done. And good range of flexion, abduction, and internal rotation must be present. Pemberton osteotomy is redirection the inclination of the roof. So it is a pericapsular osteotomy of the ilium. The hinge is the trirate cartilage. And no need of internal fixation here. Iliac bone graft is taken and kept here. And steel osteotomy, in Pemberton osteotomy, it is mobility is limited and premature fascial closure. And Salter's depends on the mobility of symphysis. Steel osteotomy is triple innominate osteotomy. You can do an osteotomy supraestabularly, superior and inferior pubic rami, and rotate the as a single segment. Degas osteotomy. The direction of the osteotomy is towards hinge is towards posterior medial aspect. It is done after the closure of triradiate cartilage. Shelf is augmentation with a bone graft. I already told you. Share is a translation of the acetabulum medially, so that ilium covers the superior aspect of the head. Finally, teratological hip, it occurs before birth, and acetabulum is very small and head is flattened medially. It is associated with conditions like Larsen syndrome, arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, diastrophic dwarfism, and myelomeningocele. So, treatment depends on the ambulatory procedure. Open reduction anteriorly with femoral shortening can be done, and up to 3 to 6 months, medial approach is done, and all contractions must be released. Thank you.